Mic check 1 2 1 2. If anyone in the chat can hear me, just push 1. As soon as we get a confirmation, we can get started. All right, we got a confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation, Dr. Phoenix. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is open chat number 37. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. I wanted to take some time out to go over some of the commentary that has been left in the chat or the comment section of the post videos. So let me drop the link in the chat. So if you want to join the discussion and contribute to the discussion, engage in the discussion, just click the link and you'll be sitting in the waiting room. Raise your hand so you can be acknowledged so one of us can advance you to the panel. If you don't raise your hand, you're going to be sitting there for a long, long time, and it's not my fault. All right, let's see if I can find this commentary. All right, here we go. All right, so our last live stream, our last open chat was Magal analysis, or the flightless bird identified males. I changed the title because I thought that it would be easier for people to understand if we said Magal analysis, this analysis, right? A comment was left under the video by one of the subscribers, and he makes a statement that I thought was very interesting. Great conversation, family. I believe you can be pro-Black. I don't believe you can be pro-Black with a non-Black wife. Here's why I believe that. I don't see professional white women, WWs, marrying regular Black dudes per se. Peep game. I don't see WW doctors, executives, professionals marrying my homies and they good dudes. I don't know much about WW because I've never spoken to one on that level. My homegirl tells me WW gets down with anything, but when it comes time to marriage, trust and believe they are coming up. You feel me? But we do see professional doctors, attorneys, executives, including pro athletes, deem successful brothers marrying regular WWs. I think they are using these so-called successful brothers as a come up. So this is something I see very, very often in the manosphere. I have no idea where this trope comes from. We've talked about this several times before, but I want to make sure we put emphasis behind these comments, because if it gets left under our videos on our live streams, then what happens here is people will refer back to our live stream and say, we either ignored it or it was made here, and we, our silence is collusion, so therefore we co-sign it, and that's not the case. And I tried to go back and forth and exchange with this subscriber, but he he sees it a different way. The first thing that caught my attention is that he's never engaged with WWs.
No firsthand experience.
Yeah, no firsthand experience. This, perception based on a gynocentric thought process.
Doesn't come up.
Yeah, and it doesn't realize that's very much gynocentric thinking. Now,
but Mike, the same women don't use them as a come up either, and that somehow makes sense to this individual. Okay.
Right. So my response to him was, you're predicating a BM's ability to be progressive based on his mating choices. Nothing more, nothing less. This is gynocentric thought process that we are trying to defeat, and you're perpetuating it. His response is, that's your interpretation. But he says he doesn't have any experience with WWs, right? He says, here's why I believe that. I don't see professional WW marrying regular dudes per se. Peep game. I don't see WW doctors, executives, professional marrying my homies and they good dudes. I don't know much about WW because I've never spoken to one on that level. See, that's where you've eliminated yourself from the conversation.
Oh my God.
Right? You've eliminated yourself from the conversation based on your own admission of not knowing. So therefore, any further discussion would be null and void. But what happens here is, the precursor to all of his admission was that I don't see professional WW marrying regular dudes. This is true in almost every demographic. People marry within their economic and educational base. People who go to MIT usually date people from Harvard and vice versa. That's just the way it is, because the proximity of the universities are very close to each other, for one, and two, the upbringing and tax bracket of that area allows them to commingle with each other. So to think that a WW doctor is going to marry Tayshawn, who works at Home Depot,
Best Buy, yeah,
Best Buy, stocking shelves. I'm sorry, but this is a fallacy. But this is the thinking of a gynocentric person, a gynocentric male. So let
like,
me further. Yeah, go ahead.
like Michael, like what he doesn't understand is he's trying to free associate with you as a black woman. Like he doesn't understand he's cosplaying as a B dub, trying to have a conversation with you about something from a B dub standpoint that he knows nothing about. Nothing. He doesn't know anything. But he is like, well, man, guess what? None of my homies can get access to a WW. So what the hell, bro? That's the way this dude thinks, man. It's sad, dude.
Yeah.
Great.
So his response to me was that it matters to. And I said, why does it matter who he marries? Oh, wait. Let me back it up. It said, because I skipped it by accident. He says, that's your interpretation. I'm simply voicing my observation. My analysis is the WW is choosing so-called successful BM. We are not choosing them because we don't see them. We don't see the same attitude reciprocated. As far as the BM ability to be progressive with regards to his mating choice, that's up to him. I'm not banging on that. I'm calling out the obvious, which is a lot of successful brothers marry regular WW. Who is being progressive in that equation? Right? Why does it matter? My response is, why does it matter who he marries in regards to his ability to be pro-black? His
I can
response
tell you
is,
why.
go ahead.
Here's the thing. They're not concerned about anything about the black man at all, but where his wealth goes after he dies.
Mm-hmm.
This is the common trope with people who have this sort of point of view, as if people don't have insurance or last will and testament. Like, they automatically assume that if you get with one of the type of women that they want you to get with,
Mm-hmm.
she's either going to screw you over and take some of your money, or
Mm-hmm.
once you die, the money goes to her and then she gets suspended with the community.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these dumbass dudes think, man. Like,
Have you ever seen that?
not in a single solitary damn case. Because women are not forced to help the community with their money. It's only men who's forced to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So he invalidates his like like this is what at the end of what he's saying. Like, I understand the thought process because I've dealt with it so many times. But this is exactly what he's saying. Beneath the explanation, this is the end of his thought process.
All right, let me finish reading this. The exchange. He says in response, it matters to a certain extent if he is married to a WW. His view is more global in terms of his community. When he himself did not come from a global community, what I am saying, it shapes his narrative in most instances. However, we have the case of Byron Allen and Robert F. Smith. Them two brothers I consider pro-black because they are putting in serious work. Now think about their legacy. There will be very little, them brothers' children will not feel as if they want to be down with the cause of a progressive black family. You think WW will advocate for pro-black pro for black progressiveness? Remember, we are the ones that have to progress at a pace double of white folks, and now is our opportunity to do so. But bro, I ain't tripping. Folks can marry who they want. I would just like folks to be conscious of things such a legacy. Look at Molly Malls. Look at the Molly
Oh,
Malls and Kanye. You see their wives down with the cause, like you saw Mrs. Shabazz and Mrs. King. So there's so much to chew on this. There's so much to digest on it. So you have anything you want to go into this minute tomorrow?
yes, yes. According to this guy,
Mhm.
there's a certain degrees of separation in niggas.
Mhm.
So if you get with the wrong type of woman, she won't have any familial type of brotherhood with niggas, and therefore she's gonna take her resources and go elsewhere. It's all about where the resources is going and where they're gonna end up on the resource pile. But see, they don't get that you ain't getting shit no matter if the woman is white or black or the kids. You're not getting any of that. So they try to make it look like they're more pro-black than everybody else
Mhm.
because they want to restrict who the person dates. Because they think if the person stays black, the resources, at least in the hands of somebody who is black, when it doesn't matter because if she doesn't know you and she's black, and she, or if she does know you and she's not black, she's still not going to give you a damn thing. So these people actually think that there's some type of windfall by keeping dudes within a certain framework while dating. Well,
Mhm.
well, they don't understand how wills work, how we don't hold women to any type of responsibility to the community
Mhm.
like we do men, because
Mhm.
it's always men. Like if there's a black chick and a white dude, you never hear them say the same argument to them. Why? Because black women can do and marry whoever they want to.
Mhm. Mhm. We got a couple of other people on the panel. Cyberdyne and Johnny Blaze. You have anything you want to add to this? We'll start with Cyberdyne. He has his hand up.
Yeah, man. You know, it's interesting. And some of my free roaming time, roaming the cyber range, I visited and perused over to another network. and end up getting on their panel, end up talking to him, and that guy visited you guys before anyway, but
Mhm.
was well received, and Black Brain Trust got a lot of respect, so with no disrespect, none of that. And what's interesting is that we were talking about the Bible, and I had ended up mentioning, I said, I know over in these neck of the woods, you know, they have similar views, kind of like the one that's being expressed, that's in that notation there. And so I told him, I said, I I date outside the race, and if it's looking good and it's decent quality and it's what I like, I date it. That's a Chinese girl right now, pinging that you're in the background, and I'm translating Chinese. But anyway,
Mhm.
what's interesting is when they heard that, they jumped all over it. And I ended up making this point, right? And one of the points that I made, I said, it was a story that I told him about a guy that when I got out of the Bing, light skinned brother has a WW for a wife, got children by the WW, and every day he used to talk about how the WM was the devil or is the devil, blah blah blah. Had a visit one day, said, "Man, let me see some pictures, man. Let me check you out, see what you're working with. Let me see your fam." And nice looking WW, gorgeous child, everything, man. And so I said, you told me that the WM was the devil every day. What's up with that? Short story, homeboy dapped me up, said, "Yo, man, I can't even talk no more about that." Fast forward years later, because we from the same city, I saw the same homeboy and his wife, WW, down in the community in the hood,
Mhm.
giving out food, giving out tracts, helping out the community. And the WW was there with her husband,
Mhm.
helping people that look like us, look like me. And so I ended up telling them that. And we ended up with this thing. And I said, I want to ask a question because some well-known people from that other side of the YouTube diaspora was over there, and they thought it was open season on your boy. And so I said, let me ask a question. I said, so you all are supposed to be about the community. And so I said, if I and they even had a brother from Australia that was on that panel.
Mhm.
I said, if so tell me this: if I had my WW or my CW or my DW or whatever,
Mhm.
other than a non BW, um, with me, and I'm about the community. I got a gang of brothers with me about the community,
Mhm.
and we showing our hands, we showing the results, we showing to prove. You see the results of the work being put in, and that we are 100% about the movement and forward trajectory of everything concerning the community and the people in it, especially the Black men. Would you receive me if I came to you and I had a non BW for a wife or for a woman behind me who was 100% in support of me and the cause that I'm about? And don't you know that, it was no hip hop, it was no riffraff over there. But man, don't you know, for like 30 or 40 minutes, I rock with them guys for hours, and those individuals, probably including mindsets like the guy whose comment you're reading, they came up with every angle imaginable about well, we don't know if we can trust that. But I'm like, bro, you see the work. Like if I say, well, here's this, or we're gonna do this initiative, and we do it and we actually act on it, and you see the results coming from it. My question is, because I counted them, I said, well, what would you say about the non-BW who's behind her Black man putting in the work and you see the results? And it was like, well, she's just going to take the money or the results and take it back for herself and give it to her people. But I said, no, every amount of work and ounce of work that she's putting in is, you see it, it's going towards our people, because her the head of her household, or the head of her, is the Black man. She's with him. She's 100% invested in his initiative and his goal, because they are a family unit. And so it's interesting that you, as you're going deeper into this dialogue with this character, with this individual, how his mind is fixated on every scenario. What if, could be, would be, is not, other than this is the facts and this is the reality. and they want to spin it, and he just don't want to accept the fact of it. They wanted to be. They asked me questions like, well, they asked me like 50 questions like, well, is there anything that you don't see in black women, or is there anything that they did to you that makes you not date them? I mean, BWs that makes you not date them. I said, no, I don't have those problems. I said, I speak more than one language. I got the ability to travel a little bit around the world, and I'm a relatively friendly dude. I make friends everywhere I go. So I'm like, if it looks good and it's to my standard and it's not garbage and it's not a waste of my time, especially if the woman approaches me, some of us brothers got it like that. We talked about that, Mike, last time. You get approached, by a nice looking female, BW or non-BW. I mean, hey, what are you going to do? You got the juice. So they came with every excuse. Well, was there a reason? What's the reason why you couldn't forego the WW or forego the non BW and choose the BW? I said, I just told you, it's simply about choice. At the end of the day, I don't have a problem with BWs. I got a couple of them in the phone. I got a couple every color in the phone. But at the end of the day, man, I'm like, it's about what I want. If you like chicken, don't you know that's bad for you? I'm like, man, I said, do you like chicken? Yeah, I like chicken. That's what the brother said. And so that's like me saying, okay, you like fried chicken or baked chicken? Well, I like fried chicken. I said, okay, well, that's like me saying fried chicken is bad for you. Not because of anything that it'll do to you, but I like baked chicken and I prefer baked chicken and I don't like fried chicken. So because I don't like fried chicken and you do, Mike, you like fried chicken, MOT, I'm going to say fried chicken is bad for you. But you should be like me and choose baked chicken, but you don't like baked chicken. You like fried chicken. So, it's crazy.
Let's go to Johnny Blaze.
Hey, good evening, fellas.
What's going on, bro?
Not too much. Hey, as I'm sitting here reading this exchange between you and this guy, there are three things that seem to keep popping out at me. Number one, this whole global community. I'm not sure where this guy's going with this nonsense. Because I mean, we live in a global economy, so we have to have some form of global community here. The world works like that. The second part that really gets me is when he goes to this man's children. The kids won't be down. I'm like, come on. As these kids grow up, they're going to live their own lives and they're going to take their own courses. So that when those kids become adults, they're going to do their own thing. And last but not least, he's talking about things such as legacy. I wonder, does this individual have his own definition of legacy? What's his legacy for his family, for his kids? Because right now he's trying to, as like MOT said, he's trying to apply his own logic to individuals who are way outside his paradigm. I find it nuts. But more importantly, this guy has never dealt with the white woman. I mean, I was married to a black woman for 17 years. I'm single now. I've dated black, white, Asian, Latino. Currently dating a black but non-ADOS woman right now. So.
Yeah, that's interesting because I noticed that as well. It says it right at the bottom, and it says it again. He puts more emphasis behind it. As I said before, I've never kicked it with a WW before, but from what I hear, it's very strategic when they choose someone to marry. It's got to be a come up. Whereas a sister may marry.
It has to be a come up?
No, it doesn't.
Whereas,
and I can give you
whereas a sister may marry a guy she loves. This is coming from sisters. They make some bad choices, so I can take it with a grain of salt. But overall, I think they have a point.
Okay. I think I know what's going on here.
Okay.
I think I know what's going on here. All right. To them, and I'm just talking about inside this guy's mind, because he's free associating as a black woman as he's talking to you. Inside his mind, since nobody in the normal community would want this guy, the only reason why she would want to be with a guy of that caliber is for a come up. There's no other way around it. See, inside of his, I'm just going to call it worldview for lack of a better word, because it's very local, the way he thinks. But to him, a normal human being is not supposed to find interest in this type of dude because the women of that own community is not interested in that type of dude. So anybody, so via that logic or lack thereof, any person who would try to get with this dude, it's only the only reason it is because of a come up. If you can understand that whole line of thinking from what this person is talking about, that's exactly what he's getting at.
MOT. But you know
Yeah.
what though? You know what's crazy, y'all? He's saying that it can't, it has to be a come up. It can't be anything.
Yeah. It
Up.
can't possibly be anything else.
And what's crazy is that, and I'm not knocking the BWs for this, but gee whiz, y'all, don't they put it out there that
They
in
do.
so many ways that they looking for the come up, like in your face, right? So it's like how can you not associate with WWs and make an assumption like that? But on the other side of the coin, the BWs tell you what they looking for. They tell you if you don't got it, I ain't there. That's the come up. And you say, well, they're doing it out of love. I don't understand that brother's logic, you know? It's crazy.
I mean, but to him, see, the person who's in that sort of situation is a non-human. He's not even human, because if the BW don't want him, then that means no other woman should want him either.
Mhm.
You see, inside his logic, once they decide that you're not, effable,
Mhm.
then nobody else should find interest in you at that point forward, because she has spoken.
Mhm.
Now, if somebody else wants to repeal her, lower court ruling, let's just put it that way, and he wants to go off on his own and act under his own accord and think for himself and get with somebody who really wants to be with him, then the only way that's going to happen is it got to be a come up. This is the way people think with this sort of mindset.
Mhm.
I mean, you can tell just by from this guy's statement that he's not really thinking for himself. And that last one you read, Mike, it says here, I've never kicked it with the WW before, but from what I've heard, what I've heard. So right now, these thoughts are not even his own. As MOT's already stated, this guy's not thinking for himself. He's just
Yeah.
taking random points he's heard. He's regurgitating it. You can tell whoever this guy is, he's easily misled. I mean, obviously, he's not putting any real thought into looking at this stuff. Hey, this is what's going on in the street. I hear about it. Okay, it must be true.
Yeah. I mean, but this is the sort of commentary that I get sent via email. I'm just highlighting this because it's publicly available. But the stuff I get in email, it's pretty nuts, man. And I don't have a problem with this brother in the chat who's a subscriber. I just think that what happens here is this is Maggle talk for all intents and purposes, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, because what's happening here is that they're trying to reapply their social conditioning after the fact that it doesn't have any social ramification for them. Like, they don't realize that they never had any control over this guy,
Mhm.
period. If he decides to go and do whatever he wants to, he's just going to do that. But to them, they're supposed to pick for him and decide his value for him.
Right. Right.
I mean, it's wild that they think that someone would want to sit in like Maggle purgatory until they just get called off the bench at like what 60 plus to be
Right.
a part of their team and build for them. So I'm like, okay, so you don't have enough respect for this guy, then you want this guy to wait around, and then the moment he leaves and does what he wants to, you treat him with a level of social disdain that you've been showing him the entire time.
Mhm.
But he had to leave to get that. But if he would have stayed and kept his mouth closed, you would have been okay with that. So
Right.
it's like, this is why I say, like I said yesterday, they only have respect for the completed product. So, in order to break this cycle, in order to break it fully, if you do not find one by the time you graduate, you have to lock the door forever. Unless they come with equal circumstances. That's my only thing. Because a lot of people think they could just grab and go like your turnpike food at like Burger King or something. You know what I'm saying? As soon as you get your money, like, yes, I can come get them now. Like, how do you have respect for men if you go from one high earning guy to one high earning guy? Like, they don't have any respect for the process of, they only have respect for the end product of. And so, especially when you trying to get something to produce for you that you overall don't respect, the circumstance isn't gonna last. It just isn't. And especially when they've had a multitude of partners that most maggles think it's okay, but they're trying to put it on you like somehow you have some type of mental social conditioning because you can't understand why you would want to put a person like that in your life that have that level of experience. Like, there's so much going on that's wrong here, but the only way that you have to be okay with it is that if you just be quiet and just let this stuff go on
Mhm.
without any type of input. It's absolutely mind blowing.
Hey, Mike, I noticed something. The exchange right above the one that you currently have highlighted. Can you highlight that third sentence?
You said right above it,
Go to the paragraph up.
this one.
Yeah, but how the third sentence? It says,
Check this out.
I'm
Byron
not. No, no,
Allen.
no, no, no. The one above that. Sorry.
Oh,
No,
oh, one what?
that paragraph. It's the sentence above that. The one says, "I'm not banging." Yeah, right there.
I'm not shaming.
No, next.
Oh, it says okay. I'm not banging on all of that.
Yeah, okay. Because he says something in here that caught my attention. Basically, it says, what I'm saying is that is to be conscious of our choices as I observe the effects of our legacy. As I read this, it's basically this guy, he's trying to apply that whoever I get with or you get with or MOT get with or Cyberdyne is going to is going to affect the entire community. Our individual choices as men.
Interesting.
Now, and I look as though you're trying to put the community, you're trying to put the responsibility of the community on a person like myself, but yet we understand that BWs, when they marry out, that same level of logic is not applied on them. There's never any mention of what's the legacy.
Yeah.
Hey, did you think about your choice? So you're asking me as a man, I'm in love with a woman. Okay, before I marry you, I better analyze what you're going to do for the community.
Well,
Are we seriously going to have that conversation?
Well, according to these sort of people, yeah, you would have that conversation. I know he's in the chat too because he was in the chat during the last live stream on economics, so I know he's here. But I want to make sure that we put emphasis behind his statements because these are not his thoughts. But this is what feminism has done to the community, where it has robbed them of their intellectual capacity, and has also written a script for them to regurgitate and pledge allegiance to. And what you're seeing right here is someone who has pledged allegiance to the higher order, which is the gynocracy, or what they consider. And despite the fact they have no experience at all, they're basically projecting all of this, all of these insecurities onto you in order for you to comply with them, with their perception. The only I understand where he's coming from a phenotypical perspective. Yeah, you may run into some issues down the line, but that has not stopped Lewis Hamilton or what's this other brother, Kaepernick from going ill. They're some of the most staunch pro-blacks that you would see. I mean, look, what's this other brother in the UK, man, the rapper, man, who's a historian. Probably one of the most prolific historians that we have right now in the pro-black community. Akala in the UK. Father's black, mother's white. And he's one of the most prolific historians that we have in the conscious community. And like the statements that's being made is not rooted in any sort of fact. But this is very common. This is a very common thought process within the manosphere where this is how they think. They don't even have to have experience. They just can project all of these issues out there, and then you just have to accept
Yeah,
what they're saying as being truthful.
yeah, but in order to keep his Magos Plus card from being shut off, these are the type of things that he has to say.
Mhm.
It's kind of like, you wouldn't expect the best atheist radio to come out of the Vatican, but if you work for the Vatican, which is in this case the gynocracy, these are the things that you would have to endorse no matter what. And it doesn't even matter whether you believe them or not. This is just social speak to let you know that you're one of them.
Mhm.
This is the things that you have to say, that you're going to be one of them and that you're going to say the same type of things that they do. While you leave those circles, be like, look, Ma, no hands. I just told him that he's going to infect the community. Now, you know what doesn't come into play? Expired players don't infect the community at all. Reptiles don't infect the community at all. They can procreate with whoever they want to. They can never take care of the kids. That's fine according to them. But you dating someone of another culture and background, that messes up the community. See, they have a group of standards for one sort of people who they respect, and for the people who they don't respect, they have another group of actual rules. So it's like, how do you have control when you have no say so? So they have this assumed level of control and authority that they operate from for some reason. Like, I'm not sure. It's kind of like you're a player in the NFL and somehow you got drafted in the middle of the night to be on another team when you don't play in the NFL. So if you don't play in the NFL, there's no way they can draft you to one team to another. You're not in the NFL. But they try to make it look like you're in this black social construct where they're going to figure out what team you're going to play for and how you're going to produce for some team when they don't have any control over you. But they operate with the assumption as they do have control over you. That's what I don't get. He's operating like, okay, at the first beginning of a statement, he made it look like it mattered. And then at the end of the statement, oh, well, I guess it don't matter. Do what you want to do. So what he was trying to do is buck break you into actually agreeing with him so that way you could stop the conversation. But once you wasn't going to be operating with him on that same level, that's when he's sort of kind of, well, bygones be bygones. Nice talking to you.
Mhm.
Like, this is the sort of thing that goes on. And men actually lose their masculinity whenever they engage in this sort of speak.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
It's interesting that that's a very good analysis, MOT. I asked them, I asked some folks, I say, well, what do you all want? And they found a convenient way of getting around to the pants policing. You know what I'm saying? And so I said, tell me, what do you want? Like, what do you, if I put down a list of 3 things that you wanted to start from in terms of moving forward, about for the community's sake, what would those 3 things be? And some individuals could never tell me that. They could only they basically took an extension of what, like, just MOT said, and they basically extended it, and it always came back around to ultimately what they want you to do if you are choosing or electing an option that they don't agree with that option. You know what I'm saying? And it was pretty much like, okay, like and it always came back around to like what you're doing in your bedroom. Like for some reason, it no matter how much logic you or I tried to put into the situation, into the conversation, just to keep the conversation on a straight and narrow path, focused solely on the facts of, okay, how does this help us move forward in the community? How does this help us, go from one objective? If we complete this, okay, we've done that. Now we go to the second objective, and after we complete that second or third objective, we've made, one step of progress or two steps of progress, and going the right direction, with a tangible, quantifiable result that benefits the person, it benefits the people, it benefits the community. It always came back around to, but your choice and that woman, it's not good. It doesn't help. And so it's interesting, Mike, because also, with that second paragraph and stuff like that you highlighted, what I also see is that he's basically, or individuals with that mindset are basically discounting your own effectiveness as an individual based on the woman you choose. So forget that Mike or MOT and everyone else, they're productive, they're consistent at being productive because they do these things. If you get with this woman who we feel isn't the right choice, you're unproductive without proof of being unproductive. You know what I'm saying? So interesting when you break that down.
Yeah, yeah, but you have to understand, like in their worldview, their respect of you is what matters first. Like your humanity starts at them respecting you. Like nothing you do matters until they respect you. And the only way that you can have their respect is that you let them control you. So the moment you act on your own accord, you don't have their respect anymore. Even if it means you get treated less than human. See, inside their mind, that's okay because they don't have respect for you. So it's okay for them to treat you a certain way, but it's not okay for you to respond in kind and to make plans outside of the decision making process. They've already decided for you how they're going to think about you. And you are not supposed to have no choice in what they say or do. So you better choose the type of people who they say while the time is good. So that way you can stay in their good graces, which nets you nothing.
Mhm.
This is what this is. I mean, it's a
There's a movie.
total joke.
There's a movie like that. I forget. Isn't there a movie that it was probably a while back? I mean, I want to say what, Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes, Running Man, no, not Running Man, Demolition Man. When how the society was kind of crazy, but I want to say it was another movie similar to exactly what you just said, where it's like they had it all figured out in terms of what you should do, and you can't do this, you can't do that. I can't think of the movie. Um, mm,
That was you're right. I think it might have been Demolition Man with
yeah,
Stallone and Wesley Snipes.
yeah, like you couldn't, like he cussed at the little thing, and he got a thing for it. And I almost want to say, have any of you brothers seen The Circle? Because
Yes, the circles.
The Circle has that kind of tone too. Remember how they made that guy ran him off the cliff, and they and ultimately, you know what? That's, man, MOTU on fire. I ultimately saw the parallel of that. And it's just like, could you imagine if people with that type of mind frame, if they just had a little more social juice than what they have now, that they're actually able to get people to fall to their whims like that, to where they control a truly realistic societal narrative that, oh, you're choosing the wrong people, you're hanging around the wrong people, you should do this, and if you don't do this, you're going to be castrated socially, to speak.
Correct. And this social programming used to work because they were the only sexual option. Now that they're not the only sexual option, the chain can easily be broken with being treated by a level of humanity to anybody that don't have that mind frame. And this is why they're losing control over it.
Mhm.
Because sexually buck breaking a guy so that way he can have prison logic when it came to picking a woman was the only way they could keep control of men, to make them do what they want. That's why sex is such a betrayal to them, because they've specifically broken you so that way you wouldn't have standards. So when you end up having standards, that really washes away everything that they could possibly have control over you with. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not hard to see, but you have to understand their mind frame inside and out, which I do. Like, what I do first is I know every single solitary positive thing that could come out of their mouth and figure out the reason for it. Then I formulate strategies based off of that. So that's how come I know so much about this process, because I know every single thing they could possibly say before they even speak. Because it's a simple if then else chart.
Mhm.
There are predictable fallbacks for everything that I have 190 things to counter with. But see, to them, you're not supposed to challenge this level of thinking. And this is why at some point, like if you tried to go to a psychic and she knows that you don't believe in psychics, how quickly they cut the conversation short.
Yep.
That's what it's like dealing with these type of people. It's
Three card,
exactly like that.
3 card Monty.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 3 card Monty. And that kind of brings me to the title, which is the pro black barometer and the ideals of consciousness. And it always seems to be rooted in gender. It's never really about
One
meritocracy.
gender, one
Yeah,
gender.
yeah, one gender, and it's never about meritocracy. It's kind of strange because in other communities, if you don't perform, you get cut to the waistline or to the side of the road. Here, it's like you don't have to perform as long as.
No, I mean, there is a burden of performance. The burden of performance is submission.
Mhm,
That's the burden of performance in this construct.
mhm,
Or be
mhm.
willing to be sived down like ripe corn as soon as you do get your resources by them. That's perfectly fine in their worldview.
Mhm.
That's like some type of level of gestureship. You know,
It
the
is.
more,
It
yeah,
is.
you know, you like you're like a jester, and some some woman is has got an army of guards who get rewarded for doing every beck and call, and you level up by doing more gestury type things that appease or capitulate to certain to that crowd, and so you eventually become the grand jester, and you're allowed to do this or do that, or as MOT
Yeah.
says, you're respected. Once you
Yeah.
hit grand jester
Yeah.
level.
Yeah. I mean, so they level up on double XP weekend. Shaming black men into trying to come back to the community, and that's their goal to the cause. Is try to cut off all their options because we're so out of order that we can't handle those. Take these options instead. Like this is how sick they sound. And it is a sickness, and it is something that needs to be studied by the American Psychological Association. So that way we can get rid of this type of thinking, because kids grow up in this particular construct and they don't realize until they get their first prison sentence, and if they even realize it at that point, that everything that they done was wrong. Dude, I probably locked up 16 people within the first year I was a cop for, guess what, doing something someone said on the behest of what a woman did. Dude went over, punched a guy, got a life sentence. Dude went over, hit some guy, got a life sentence. Just based off of what a woman said,
Mhm.
true or no true. And that's what they want you to be, man. They want you to be like a crash test dummy for the matriarchy. You have
Or,
no
or
heart, no courage, and they just want you to act on their whim.
Or a jihadi.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, matriarchal jihadi.
Yeah.
Go do a
That's even
kamikaze
worse.
on, yeah, do a kamikaze on someone else's channel or something like that. Put yourself out there, man. Go through some
I
bricks
mean,
through a window. Go spray paint on a synagogue or something like that, and show them.
You know what? You just brought that up. Because we talked about he was mentioned in the last segment. What's the does anybody know the educational or the professional background of that guy who threw that brick through the window?
I think he had like a
BS and macroeconomics.
a BS and BS.
Yeah.
Oh. Hmm.
I
I
mean,
honestly don't know.
he's
Honestly don't know.
no, because that guy, he had just got out of jail. He had only been out like a few weeks, if that.
You got to be kidding me.
No.
Yeah. And one of the shirts I seen him wearing was some type of felons against something another. That pretty much said that, oh, okay, you had to be in prison in order to be one of these reformed prison guys. Like, okay, all right, yeah. So
The
that's
prison lawyer type.
yeah. So it's like this, man. We now have the ability to talk about these things openly. So that way we can raise awareness to other people across the world that this stuff isn't normal. It's not. And it's very easy to slip in, to slide to, and to be around. It doesn't take a lot to have this type of mindset. The only thing you got to do is just be willing to lie, cheat, steal on the behalf of the matriarchy, and your brain goes right onto a pedestal so that you're not going to need until you leave the cult. That's what it is. Your man card gets pulled and it gets buried over in matriarchal camp, and she has your soul forever. That's the way it is, man. It's crazy.
Just because somebody looks like you doesn't mean they're going to be good for you. And that's the bottom line. And I don't know why these guys don't seem to get that. I mean, when you're dating someone, looking at marriage, you got to vet these individuals. I mean, that's rule one.
Well, the
To
vetting
them,
process
vetting is just
is
having the skin color and
right.
being willing to do whatever they want to at the drop of a hand. That's their vetting process. In order to be around us, you have to be a willing participant in whatever we design for you to do at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how much sense it makes, regardless of how much it's going to affect your future, regardless of how much of a fool it makes you look like in any other circumstance, this is what they want. They want ballless men. That's what they want. They want a whole army dudes just waiting by so that way they can point and click like you're like Command and Conquer to just walk over into a den of wolves. And that's what they want.
That's what an ant colony does, doesn't it? For the
Yeah.
queen, take themselves
take
apart, kill themselves, glue themselves to structures.
Pretty much, she's Megatron, and the rest of those dudes are Decepticons. Wherever he points, that's where they go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the ideals in the barometer, man. The barometer seems to, like I said, it only stops at one gender, and that's it. No meritocracy, no performance metrics, no mileage. It is
No
essentially just
burden of
now.
production.
Right, no burden of production, no burden of proof, nothing. Just all narrowed down to the opposite sex, and that's it. One gender, that's it.
The
And if you try
respect of
to,
the opposite sex is the highest form of love in that specific construct. That's it. Their respect. That's it. That's the highest form.
yeah, that's crazy, And then you go into the ideals of consciousness. Like the ideals of consciousness always seems to circulate around a hashtag or what the influencer, which is the gynocracy, has to say about the influenced, which is the maggle.
Yeah.
They're not capable of leading anything. So it's just like I don't understand the the continued logic that you have to follow what we want you to follow, but we're not capable of leading. And then when the initiative fails, you get the blame. The man gets the blame because he hasn't led. But when you try to lead, it's like, no, you need to do this. It's like, what? Wait a minute. That it doesn't make sense. Just don't know.
I mean, it's just a virulent strain of social psychopathy. That's all it is.
I kind of think back to when this whole Ebonic stuff came, when that got real popular.
Oh,
like that
God.
was some standard, like this is some kind of new kind of standard that we're going to put out here. It's almost like trying to like recirculate that whole argument. Nothing wants to be based in logic. Anytime you want to have any kind of logical discussion on this stuff, it's all about it's raw emotion. Nope, you guys are trying to be assimilated. You this is not. It's almost like the thing. This is not what Black people do. Well,
I have a question. Let's go with that assimilated thing for a second,
okay.
because we need to do a whole hangout on how in the hell that what they turned into was far worse than being quote unquote assimilated. So they decided to devolve other than assimilate. Like, there's no way what they turned out as is better than a competing American citizen. There's no way that's, but to them, a nonconformist and a non-participator is a person who's God in their actual point of view. But that whole assimilation piece, man, I would like to just sit one of these people down and like really discuss with them right?
You broke up that MOT.
That's they use their culture, they acclimate into the culture, and they get a lot of it. How come Black people couldn't do the same thing? Or these people specifically, how come they couldn't do the same thing?
They will run away from that. They will run. They won't sit. It's like that wish that you want to put somebody in the chair in front of just lock them in an auditorium and fill it up with a bunch of people and put a person right there on the chair in the middle of everybody and ask them the hot question, but leave the door open and they can get up and walk away if they want to. They run away. They won't. As soon as you ask that question, they're just going to get up and walk off. They'll run away from that. Mm-hmm. Actually, you know what? I'm in favor of that. I think I would invest some money. If we could do that, they could have tangible results without nobody getting like cracked upside the head. I think we should have something like that where, we set up, 6, 7, 8, 9 chairs and fill up an auditorium full of concerned citizens in the community and just question people and get the truth out of them right there.
Have a rational conversation in front of everybody.
Right there on the spot, but lock the door. Lock the doors. Have security, but lock the doors and get them to account. Almost like, a Donahue show or something, but it's real life.
Well, you have to have it in a public forum, in a public arena, because not so much as like like a Donahue discussion, but you gotta allow them to say the most ridiculous thing that they can so that you can counter it in real time.
Yes.
Yeah, like I would love to sit down with the Madame Noir people and like have a discussion about their dumbass articles. That would be just so interesting how they can't really stand up and do the stuff, because if you try to invite any of these people on who write these articles, they never answer.
Mhm.
They have never answered anybody. They just want to be able to print their stuff ad nauseum and don't want to be held to any type of account to what they do, like the average, you know what I'm saying, ADOS B dub. But it's like, dude, we got to be able to have realistic conversations around this stuff that can easily become our culture without us knowing about it and without consent from us.
I finally, this Madame Noir, I had no idea this thing even existed till about 3 months ago. And I've watched a few of these things back and forth. And I look at some of these commentators who they get on the show, particularly the men. I don't know where they find these guys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, okay, because their talking points, they're so far out in left field, it's unreal.
And they're all the same, ain't it?
Yeah.
They're all the same type of guy.
Yeah, I mean, like these wannabe hippie trendsters or whatever you want to call them, but I'm like, y'all really didn't go find any just average people, just average worker type guys, or even just well-to-do college guys, but they went after the most mundane type of individuals to talk on these panels.
Because it's controlled. It's
Yeah.
controlled.
Very
It's
controlled
meant,
environment.
it's meant to make the men look docile and the women look like they're so intelligent. Fox News has a
Does
strategy.
that all the time.
Yeah, they have this strategy to bring on black pundits and make them look like idiots in front of the white commentators like Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity, so that they look like they had the upper hand and these guys are just dominating them. In reality, the lines are all scripted.
Yeah.
Basically,
it's just like Hannity and Combs. How Mr. Combs could never best Hannity because it was a scripted show, not real reality.
It would
So
look
basically,
something like the time. It would look something like the time that you guys remember when Dame Dash and Cameron, I think, was on Bill O'Reilly, and they had like the black principal on there, and I mean they were clowning them, but it's like Mike said, that's when you could really apply hand select, because they select those guys. Could you imagine one of you guys being up there if they say, hey, why don't you come up here?
If I was up there with one of them people,
the status quo must say that she is more intelligent than you are, and she is justified in her position for dismissing you, and because you haven't reached her level of hierarchy, you have no place here. Basically, you're supposed to be defeated. That's the way they pretty much want it to be, and they're taking a lot of these cues from racist WMs. They like the way the society is run. They have no interest in it changing. That's why there's so much pushback against thinking black men. They don't want that. What they want to do is maintain the community for what it is in the state that it's in, to justify their position in society, or their lack of respect for you and their position in society. And as long as they can do that, they're okay with that. They're okay with the system about to malfunction financially. They're okay with that, just so long as they don't have to deal with the BM, the thinking BMs. They don't really like that.
yeah, that's where we are.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we have this platform, is to push back against a lot of that stuff, man. I didn't want to put the brother out on Front Street in the comment section, but I was getting tired of going back and forth with him, and I didn't want to block him or ban him because I seen him in the chat.
But you wasn't putting him on Front Street. You was putting his ideas on Front Street,
right?
Not him as a person, because this type of stuff is in the bloodstream of Black America. Like you can go in the deepest recesses of anywhere in the country, and you would find this answer, this exact line of thinking everywhere. Because in order to have this type of respect, this is exactly what you have to say to be an approved person of this sort of style of thinking. So it isn't him, it's the thought process, what we're going after. Because if you sat this individual here down on the panel, he would seem so lost because he wouldn't be able to explain what he meant because these are not his thoughts. This was just the cue cards that he was given to read without thought, without compunction, without responsibility. So once you try to make a person take responsibility of what they said, they still will have a hard time doing it because just like most BWs, you don't get a platform to where you have a open range to be able to discuss these things. They actively know how to stay away from those conversations.
Hmm.
And that's why they would rather shut the conversation down
Hmm.
because they're lost. They don't know what they're supposed to say outside of their basic programming.
Hmm.
You have to realize that we choose our limitations. They are the limitations. And there's nothing you can do about it.
I would have
Yeah,
loved for him to come to the panel. I would have
he's a,
loved if he would have did that.
he was here an hour ago in the chat, so I'm not sure why he's not here now. Probably over at
Hmm.
BGS for women. But let's go to Dr. Phoenix. Dr. Phoenix has been waiting. What's going on, bro?
Well, what's good, brothers? I didn't know Dame Dash was on Bill O'Reilly here some time ago. I never knew that. But it's ironic you bring him up because he's kind of somewhat representative of folks in this argument here. Because if anyone's familiar with Dame Dash, well, everybody knows Dame Dash, but anyone's familiar with the woman he married, he didn't marry an ADOS woman. He didn't have kids with an ADOS woman. In fact, if I remember correctly, his woman was from Trinidad. But yet, he's one of these guys made money off the culture. Then when the culture inevitably, when the real people who control the music industry came in and kicked him out and elevated Jay-Z, here he is in his late 40s. I think he might be 50 now.
Oh yeah,
Talking all this
50s.
pro-black stuff. But
Yeah.
to those comments that were made, I mean, it's pretty indicative of these kinds of folks. They're forever trying to tell you, what you should do, yet they don't have experience interacting with these people. And so, as a collective, you know, I mean, this is kind of what the notion is, because I mean, this is just all about really it's about just controlling where productive black men eventually leave their resources, as MOT said it earlier. You're a
Yeah.
commodity. Again, if
Yeah.
we're supposed to be fine, it's funny, everybody always brings up this specter of white supremacy, but no one never seems to acknowledge the fact that the very rhetoric that gets used against black men who leave the community or who date out or marry out or whatever the case may be, it's the same type of rhetoric that they're claiming that they're trying to fight. You're a commodity. You're nothing more than just a financial resource for the community. Otherwise, they wouldn't have nothing else to do with
Yeah. I mean, like here's the deal. I'm gonna make a quote and I'm gonna tell you an exact parallel of it. I think it was either Adams or Jefferson said, patriotism is the last refuge of a scoundrel. And I'm going to say pro black is the last refuge of a failed human being who's black. It's the last refuge. It's a place that you cannot be criticized from. As long as you're pro black, nothing really matters about what you say or what you've done in the past prior to you declaring pro black. It's ridiculous.
I mean, they all do that. Again, I do reference that because, like I say, everyone remembers that infamous video with, Jay-Z and Dame Dash on the yacht, big pimping and whatever. I was a teenager and I remember when that video came out, and here he is, 2 decades later, complaining about he don't want dudes coming at his daughter like that. But yet, you didn't have no problem doing what you did in those videos and back in the heyday when it was you and Jay-Z, you guys were running Rockefeller Records and all of that. But and not to single him out, but as a whole, even going to the comments that brother made, he killed his own argument when he said he did not have no interactions with WWs. So who
But
the hell do you?
then, but then at that moment, you knew he was free associating as somebody other than himself. At
Mhm.
that moment, you knew that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously parroting stuff that he's learned, he's been taught, that he's heard. And again, these folks sound damn near like slave catchers.
Mhm.
If you want me to be honest, I mean, if we just go keep this 100. They sound like slave catchers. You're trying to reel the black man back back onto the plantation. You send out your fastest, strongest bucks to go catch the runaway slaves,
Mhm.
and that's what these folks do.
But they're the weakest, strong. But they're the weakest, most ill-equipped men to try to reel in people who's far better than them. Like
Mhm.
that's what they don't get, or neither do they want to even acknowledge or understand.
Mhm.
Hey, I'm gonna throw some out at you guys, and most of it like Dr. Phoenix, but a lot of these talking points and the whole behavior, it mimics the stages of grief. Like denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So right now, a lot of these guys are in that whole denial and anger phase.
I would agree with that. I think that's a very good analogy. I mean, it is it is the stages of depressions. I think right now they are in the anger phase. Well, I take that back. Maybe depression.
Yeah, but who are they angry at though?
I mean, earlier you was saying you was talking about Robert Smith. Bring up that name in the conversation with these folks,
Oh
and
man,
man, do the pitchforks and the goddamn the brimstone come out.
Mhm.
I mean, there are just certain names you cannot mention around these kinds
I
of
mean,
folks, and,
I mean,
and I
they're
mean,
going like a Wolverine berserker rage if you were even to say that, dude. The whole conversation is over as soon as you say that. No,
I mean, but
I'm talking World Breaker Hulk if you say something like that.
I, I mean, I mean, I've seen panels where the moment his name came up, you had certain individuals just go ballistic. They just went in. Oh, that white bitch. Oh, blah 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 blah, and it's just like, okay, really.
Well,
I
see,
mean,
and
Part of the monster Hulk.
Yeah,
it is, and I think Mike said something very, or I can't remember, was it Mike? I'm not sure, but earlier in the conversation, you guys were talking about, it might have been Cyberdyne that was talking about, he knew a brother that was with a WW, and they actually did stuff for the community. That's been my general experience when I ran across brothers who were in these non-black, relationships with non-black women. They typically were some of the most pro-black dudes out there, believe
yeah,
it or not.
yeah, and that's been my experience. I do a lot of solidarity work throughout the week, and my experience is that a lot of the brothers there are not being checked for by BWs. They're being checked for by other groups of women. I posted the pictures last week about this at the NISB event. There were more non-black women there than there were BWs. So they're not coming there for nothing. They're coming there because they want the best of the best. So this idea that I don't see brothers dating up and dating WWs of this sort of caliber, I'm sorry, but you don't have enough experience to actually comment on this.
Well, I think for those, especially those of us that are in healthcare, we see this a lot. You know, you're around WWs all day, every day, and very good looking ones at that. And I'm just gonna keep it. If you even want me to keep it 100 with you,
Mhm.
look at go look at the graduations of medical schools and look at the brothers you see and look at who you see on their arm. Go look at them. I challenge brothers to go do that. Go look at the graduation photos of medical students and see who a lot of these brothers have on their arm. More importantly, I'll also argue too, and have personally had this happen to me. I've had white clinical instructors that try to hook me up with their daughter.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
mean, that's just the long and short of it.
Yeah.
I've had it happen to me a couple times. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, clearly they see something, but I think MOT hit on something that's very important earlier, which is this you want to come along when you see the finished product. the hell with that. If you're not here for this ride, if you don't, especially, for brothers that go to college, brothers that go to professional schools, brothers going to medical school, you give a number of your years of your life to being broke. And so a woman that's willing to stick with you through that process, yeah, she deserves to be there with you in the end. But ultimately, we know that most black women don't stick around for that. They don't. They want to see you at the finish line. And if they're not there in the beginning, you don't get to be there at the end.
Right. We got Wacky World of O on the panel, man. What's going on, O man?
How you doing? How you doing? How you brothers doing today?
Hey,
Tonight.
What's up?
Shalom, man.
What's up,
Shalom,
Bo?
man. Shalom.
Shalom.
Good evening.
Shalom.
It's been a while, brother. Good evening.
Yeah, it's been a while. How you doing, Dr. Phoenix, MOT, J Blaze,
What's up?
Cyber Divine, Cyberdyne.
What's going on, champ?
All right. I at first when I see Cyberdyne's name, I thought it was Cypher Divine. You know, ain't some 5%er name for something. But anyhow, to the topic. You know, when it comes to a lot of pro-blacks critiquing successful so-called black males who marry or date outside the race, you know, their intent, like, you know, it's not only based upon the resources that this brother brings, but it also shows that man's it also showed that I'm talking about they as in pro-blacks don't value the happiness of so-called black males. It's like, okay, do you even ever do you ever wonder if this, non-black female that this brother is married or dating has the virtues or the qualities that this brother is looking for in a quality relationship that makes him happy? A lot of these pro-blacks don't consider that because in actuality, they don't consider the happiness of so-called black males. You know, this pro-black, I won't even call it pro-black because that's not truly pro-black, but this fake pro-black viewpoint of interracial relationships as far as so-called black males dating non-black females is based upon making the black female happy, not the black male. So whatever the black female don't like, the whole fake pro-black community have to dislike. Is this a continuation of this matriarchal worship? All right? The black woman is God. That's what Muslims believe. So when Muslims believe that this black woman is God, so you have to do whatever it takes to make God happy. If God isn't happy because nobody or very few successful black males is choosing her lace front wig wearing ass, then the whole phony pro-black community have to be angry at that. Remember, she's their God. You have to go by what God says. If God says that's a sin for a so-called black male to find happiness, no matter what color or ethnic group the female comes from, then guess what? This whole church of phony pro-blacks have to agree that it's a sin. That's their cult. Remember this phony pro-black ideology on social media is a cult. Okay? So they have to follow the idol God that this cult worships. Well, that's what I have to say on that, though.
Let's go to.
Can I just add something real quick to what you said?
Ahead.
Yeah. There's one important thing that we talked about over the last couple of weeks, but the icy hot stunner, and I put it in the chat, and I said 3 words: icy hot stunner. The reason why I say that, because if they truly cared about the community and what happens within the community, why have I not heard any of these folks other than blaming black men really talk about what happened? Really talk about 700 black women being infected with HIV and potentially out there knowingly sleeping with young black men.
Boom.
Not just black men our age, but younger black men. So men that haven't even had a chance to grow into, haven't even had a chance to reach their prime, haven't even had a chance to experience life, that will can potentially have their life hindered. I wouldn't say cut short, because nowadays people live pretty normally with HIV, but certainly have limitations potentially put on their life because they engaged in sexual intercourse with a woman who knowingly slept with a white man who had HIV, and knowing that that white man wanted to use her as a vessel of bioterrorism so she can go back to the community and give it to black men.
I can tell you why. Because it pretty much didn't matter, because a black woman's freedom is the highest ideal of this community-minded thinking. Any person who believes in community-minded thinking, I'm talking about the enablers, they all want you to work through this woman's dysfunction. Like, they want to treat working through as if you're working with. You can't do that. The problem is that if you're working through somebody, you're not required, she's not required to change. You have to do all the adjusting to how she acts. That's how working through works. Working through is a level of disrespect. Working with someone is like you don't know somebody, you kind of hit or miss, and after a while you kind of get on the same page. There is no getting on the same page with this person. They want to protect her ability to be as free as possible. And what this community-based thinking does is it has you cleaning up after her messes, or the things that she does, or the men that she likes. That's the only thing that happens in this community-minded thinking. And you're not supposed to know that as a person who's not, quote unquote, down with the crew.
MOT.
Yeah.
Once again, MOT. She's their God. That's
Yes,
the God of their cult. She's their God.
Old Testament. Old Testament.
Exactly. And well, Dr. Phoenix, some of these people from the cult of the phony pro-blacks, they've actually spoken about it. And you know what's their conclusion?
It's black men's fault.
Exactly. Because for somehow the so-called black male did not protect these so-called black females from from having consensual sexual intercourse with this male. Okay?
I take it even a step further. They, the black, the madams, mothers, did not protect the daughters from that predator.
But you know, with their God, you can't blame their God for anything. You can't hold their God responsible. The cult have to hold anyone else responsible aside from their God. So they have to blame us.
Trust me. They stay within this context for a reason. It's because they're not ever held to any account. So whenever you hear a man talks about, oh, that she's just gonna do what she wants to do, that's a dude who you just don't need to talk to anymore. Because at the end of the day, that dude has mortgaged his rationality and common sense in favor of being okay with a person, especially this B-dub, doing whatever she wants to. And his job is to A, put up with what happens, not realize he has choice, and just be a willful idiot to this degree of social predation. And it's ridiculous.
Well, for me, my biggest problem with with the brother's comments, to Mike after the hangout last week, is this idea that somehow it is cool to project onto black men the community's inadequacies. All the ills of the community are somehow the fault of this small percentage of black men. Mm-hmm. Everything that has gone wrong in the community is because these dudes then left and take the abuse. My other problem is that these folks sound no different than a white supremacist. They really don't. I mean, if you read some of these old slave narratives, they talked about it. King Sigma's even talked about it. Shout out to King Sigma, where you didn't send a white man out to capture the damn runaway slave. It sent the biggest, strongest buck out to capture the white, the slave. And that's what happens. You send out these little male drones, these worker drones, and what is their job? Oh, let's reel these black men back into this collective. It doesn't matter if they're resisting it, they're kicking and screaming. No. You have no rights within this collective. Your rights are what we tell you. Sounds no more different than the Dred Scott case.
Yep. The black man has no rules that the BW is bound to respect.
Sound like a damn Borg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a colonialist practice. We know that based on how they engage BMs, it's based on colonialism or imperialism for that matter, but more of a colonialist culture where there is no challenging the BW. You just have to accept things the way that they are, and that's just the way it's going to be. And if you try anything to undo what has already been binded, you will find yourself into a physical confrontation with another male.
I find it interesting though that this whole hood culture that we call black culture now, really it was not this big in the 80s and even parts of the 90s. I mean, I'm 46 years old, and I distinctly remember times we may have been poor, but we weren't hood. And it's like this whole level of thinking that exists now compared to then. The world it's like the black community is totally flip-flopped.
I mean, it's a celebratory quitting. That's what it is.
To piggyback off of what Jay Blaze said, right? When he said that the black community have totally flip-flopped. I'm going to give you an example of this. There's this female, black female, right? So-called black female, who have out-of-wedlock children by multiple males. And none of her quote-unquote baby daddies consider marrying her or what have you. He's just another baby mama with multiple baby daddies. Now, whenever me and her get into a disagreement on a topic, she has the nerve to critique me and try to insult me by stating how I have no kids. And I scratch my head. I'm like, hold on. Isn't it better to have no children than to have out of wedlock children by multiple people?
No,
I mean, that's backwards.
No. I could tell you why. Oh, I could tell you why. Because your ability to have kids with her and her have control over your life is the highest form of fealty in that type of setup. So the fact that you have not found a woman to have out of wedlock birth kids to means that you don't want to give up your life for the cause. That's what that means.
I would go even a step further and say, and I've talked about this before, I talked about something called ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. I keep referencing this because I do urge brothers to go check it out. Just Google it. So it's from the CDC. They have there's whole pages on it. But again, I reference that because, old man talks about this woman who has multiple children out of wedlock. And in my experience, it's typically been these children who come from those backgrounds who tend to be some of the most socially dysfunctional, some of the most academically dysfunctional people out here. They grow up like this and they become adults who behave like this. So they have this regressive, recalcitrant maladaptive behavior that that they've never seen a grow. It's various stages of arrested development. And this is ultimately who comes to do the slave catching, because these folks are easily controllable. You can just send these guys out and see if they can reel some black men back onto the plantation. So just to throw that in there to what old man was saying.
Yep. And I'm not gonna say any plantation. So if I'm gonna be shamed by that, shame me until I die.
I got a story, something similar. I have a female coworker I work with, a white lady. She's got 5 kids by 3 different guys. Now she was married to all these men. All the men. Now she's still hot. She's fine. She's in her 40s. But what was interesting is that she has she doesn't restrict her kids' access from their fathers. She doesn't even take child support from these guys. She's just like, look, all I need you to do is when the kids need something, you pay for it. Now, granted, 3 of her kids are grown. She still has 2 small ones, but the small ones, her and the ex-husband, they have a 50-50 shared custody. She don't want child support. She just want the kids' school paid for, their clothes. I've never seen anything like it, man. It's like, how is that this woman, with these kids can do this, but yet on the flip side, we got these child support and all this other nonsense going on. Fathers can't see their kids.
Because it's about control. It's about control. And the other context is about control. And they don't care who they have to run to get the mechanism of control accomplished, even if it's the federal government. I mean, if these people hated the government so much, why would you take their free money, free food, and all that kind of stuff?
Because
but at the end of the day,
choice.
Yeah. But dude, at the end of the day, there's really nothing you could be able to do with this sort of mind state other than educate people that this is not normal. You may have been raised by this, but this still is not normal.
What's up, fellas?
What's
going on, Ty City?
Hey, Dr. Phoenix, man. I gotta chime in. I'm on that campaign, man. I'm on that campaign, man. We gotta stop this wedlock business, man. It don't matter if they was married to their baby daddy or not. The likelihood of it working out is not that great anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think for the most part, Black people do not do family planning, at least not to the level that everyone else does. Family planning, and for most Black people, it's not even an afterthought. It just doesn't happen.
It's not family planning. It's kid planning by one person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what we're dealing with as far as men not wanting to be involved with these women. It's not the children. You know what I'm saying? And they get to use that. The whole wedlock thing is you didn't marry her. That's why, you know what I'm saying? I'm strongly against that, bro.
Yeah, they see marriage as the ultimate benchmark for BWs, but not for BMs, and that's why it's pushed so heavily onto BMs, because you need to validate her, and it's like, nah, I don't think so. She doesn't have my best interest, so right. And because of that, the culture is what's driving the divorce rates and the intellectual flight and capital flight. It's the culture that's doing that, but they want to double down on culture and force you to comply with it, and it's not going to happen.
Like it's weaponized. It's like you didn't break him first before you had children with him. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You didn't get that stranglehold on him before you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because they only know the benefits of it. At the end, the benefits of the end of it.
Well, I think Mike said it best earlier. This is buck breaking. Mm-hmm. This is what it really comes down to.
Yeah,
And,
but
and
that's what
this is why you
man.
run into these young men, whether it's in your real life or it's here on YouTube or in social media. You run into these men. They've been broken since they were children.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they gallop around like Cape Buffalo whenever they see a normal black man. They just want to walk in as a group and try to run your ass down. As
Yeah,
soon as they see a guy that don't think like them, I'm telling you, man, like the alarm bells go off, and it's like all of a sudden, you've been painted as a target with a damn laser pointer, and here comes a cruise missile of dumb motherfuckers to come after you.
But
well, I
MOT,
Crazy.
think
but MOT, just be a black guy who talks white. You out. You done dried up the pussy. They don't want to talk to you.
But yet she'll put on a Valley Girl voice for ICR stunners.
Not only that, not only that, you talk like you talk white,
Mhm.
and now you're successful. Now that's what it is.
Mhm.
It's a whole different dynamic. You can't be talking white and not successful. Once you talk white and you successful, you branded yourself as, you know what I'm saying? You probably with a white girl because that's probably, you know what I'm saying? What's vibing with you.
well,
And
here's the
now it's a
thing.
problem.
Here's the thing. I'm sure everybody remember a couple years ago when Luke Cage debuted on Netflix the very first season, and literally that first 24 hours of the release, it literally broke the damn internet and broke Netflix. And everybody was in love with the brother Mike Coulter, oh, and including the black women, until they found out the brother had a white
Dum
wife.
dum dum.
And then when they found out he had a white wife, I mean the pitchforks, the knives, I mean they had the 1,000-yard stare, Superman heat beams and stuff like that. But I say that to say because when they interviewed him, he talked about it. He said that he was with her because she'd been with him when he was broke, when he was a struggling actor. And I'm not saying that black women don't do that because I personally have known some who've done that, but however, the majority, I mean the vast majority, do not do that. They want to meet you at the finish line, and that's just not how it works.
Well, you
Uh,
saw the same thing with Derek Luke.
Yeah, yeah. I
Derek
mean
Luke
they
was
were
living out
they
his
were
karma.
flipping out. I remember a very well known, probably the most well known pro black YouTuber, usually calls himself the authority, but
Mhm.
he did a broadcast talking about that brother, and I mean it was some crazy shit, to be real here. And the
no
funny
way.
part about it is that
No
I
way, Dr. Bennett.
never heard him or the other cats in that arena talk about what happened in South Carolina. Not have not heard a peep out of them about it. But yeah, we can make videos about why black men shouldn't be talking about black women hitting the wall. But we can make
Wait a minute.
videos about that.
Wait a minute. So the authority didn't even say nothing either
No, none
about the
of them said.
Isaac Hunter.
Not
What?
the only one that said it was the only one that said something was Tariq Nasheed. He was the only
Yeah,
one that
yeah.
that meant that talked about the other big names out there said not a word, not a word. Ain't heard
Every-
nothing
Everybody put their vacation in at the same time, man. Everybody.
But I just say that because don't get me wrong, I've supported him in the past and stuff like that. But it is one of these things. It is one of these deals. Whereas we hear stories like Derek Luke, Mike Coulter, but these are common stories. A lot of times, most of the time, when I meet brothers who have non-black spouses, 9 times out of 10, if they're around my age, they met them in college. They didn't meet them. They didn't meet them after college. They met them while they were in college. But no one never talks about that. No one never talks about how, when you're a 21-year-old black man, you might be sitting on the college campus, you ain't getting chose.
You know what, Dr. Phoenix, I'm gonna tell you something, man. Like them sorority chicks, like me, right? I didn't go to college, but I used to. I partied on college campuses and whatnot. And these sorority chicks, they ain't checking for you if you ain't stomping the yard, bro.
Yeah, if you're not one of these Q dolls, the sci-fis, the Sigmas, whatever.
King
Yeah, no,
Sigma.
yeah. I mean, you gotta be, you gotta be on that stomp the yard bullshit. I mean,
but, but
you ain't got your Timberlands on and your Jabos or whatever. I mean, yeah, you weren't that dude back in the day.
nah, you wasn't, bro. I don't have, and you know what? I don't have nothing against the frat brothers or whatnot, bro. But them niggas wanted that validation so bad, bro. They they do all kind of cock blocking moves and shit. They used to be like, what the fuck? Dog? We all like,
Well, that's what those step shows were all about. That's what the step shows were all about. It really was about performing and showing off for the female.
Oh hell no. Yeah.
hey, I know I be getting on people feelings whenever I get over there, man. But shit, I see the most corniness, dog.
Well, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of, nothing personal against the frat brothers because I'm not a frat brother or anything like that. But I do know quite a number of them. Know quite a number of them. They're in school with me right now, and and they, cool brothers. But as a whole, you know, yeah, I mean, you either had to be one of those step dudes, you had to be one of those frat dudes, or you had to be, or the probably the key ones were the ones that were hood and got to college and joined one of the frats. Those were the ones. Those were the ones that those AKAs, those deltas, they were going crazy for. So I mean, but I mean, I'll leave it at that. I went to a PWI, but I've been to a number of these
Did I?
HBCU campuses, so I know exactly what goes down on those campuses. So, but I do say that, because again, the everyone always is out here to try to police what black men, and no one never fundamentally says, okay, we're talking about saving the community. How the hell you gonna save a community? You got your damn women running wild. You talk about family planning and not having kids out of wedlock. You got folks jumping on panels talking about you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They want to argue you down.
A lot of these folks talking on these panels not even qualified to talk about the fuck they talking about.
I'm just gonna say this much. If you listen to a black female and she got kids by a non-black man, you tell that heifer to shut the hell up and sit down. Ain't no damn black man out here and to use our brothers Nagon's term. You a sucker laid nigga if you sit out here listening to some goddamn broad. Ain't even choose a black man to have kids with, but you sit here listening to her call you beta male coons and all kinds of crap, ain't giving you not a lick of respect. Man, you sucker, man, you a sucker laid nigga at all.
Suck a lie.
I mean, it's just that simple. I mean, I'd be damned I sit here and listen to some clown ass broad sit here and tell me some crap like that.
Yeah, man.
Let me say, like, there's this one narrative that a lot of, especially so-called black females, use, to argue against interracial marriage and interracial relationships. They say that it's a bad thing for the race for our people to mix because it's going to ruin our genetic line. You're destroying the so-called black population. And when I hear these females say that, I always ask them, I said, okay, if you're so concerned about the future or the genetic of so-called black people in the future and whether, it's going to depopulate our people, then shouldn't you encourage your sisters to stop aborting black children? Because abortion is killing way more black children than interracial mating. As a matter of fact, there's no real evidence that interracial mating is destroying the black population. But there's tons of evidence.
Boo.
There's tons of evidence. There's tons of studies, tons of evidence, and you know, Dr. Phoenix is in the medical field, so he could vouch for this. There's tons of evidence proving that abortions is killing off the black population.
You know, to what you're saying, I recommend brothers go check out the Centers for Urban Renewal and Education. They did a landmark study, I want to say a couple, 2-3 years ago, where their conclusion was that since 1970, you've had more than 22 million black babies that have been aborted. 22 million. That's half of the black population. Now, if you go to Center for Urban Renewal and Education, they have it right there. Wrote a very lengthy article on it, have a number of studies, but this was them tracking data over 30 plus years.
Well, see, Dr. Phoenix, that's what I'm saying. With numbers that high, you sit here, you probably hear these women on the panel talking to these talking points about breeding out your race. More than likely, they probably killed black babies before.
Exactly.
Oh, of course they can. Of course
exactly.
they have.
So in what moral position are they in to even speak about quote unquote breeding out your black race, or you know, watering down your genetics, or you know, destroying your genetic line? They're in no position to even speak on that.
They just joined the genetic
okay
line with them with all these lace front weaves. You know, we need
I'm not even about to go there with that one.
You know, with all these, I'm gonna call it out. You know, we need that's killing the genetic line, because you know, when they start having children, you know, the hair follicle is genetically modified so that, you know, the hair is not as luxurious and natural and beautiful, and they just doing that with paving the way for the next generation to
hey, man,
keep.
So are we really talking about GMO bitches
weaves
right now, man?
Yeah, you know,
God,
these lace fronts making bad decisions. Go ahead, Monty.
Well, but
you really just turned this into like a genetically modified organism conversation, man.
Yeah,
just by saying that, dude.
It's lace fronts,
okay.
You know.
You know what? To the other part of what old man was saying, you know, I to this idea we're diluting the genetic line. Look, first of all, you don't have quite as many men as they, you know, that are really truly stepping out. I mean, obviously those numbers have been increasing year on year, but again, I mean, they're still not procreating enough to truly dilute the line. But the other part of that is that just Google African American academic achievement and see what pops up.
Yeah, and like
We're
the
talking
level of
about
education,
diluting the genetic line, but the average education reading level of the average black person is a 4th grade level. And this is from multiple studies. This is not any one study. This is multiple levels. Even in healthcare, this is how they educate us to talk to patients at a 4th grade level.
But Dr. Phoenix, this what I'm saying. Like, if you go into any one of these daycares, like they have they paying $200-something a week, and look at all the kids in there. They have enough money to hire a college educator to come in and educate the small children. We can have childhood development in all of these communities.
It'll never happen, and I'll tell you why. If you go to those same daycare and look at those children, what are they wearing? That's your childhood development plan right there, sitting on their feet.
I'm just saying, man.
Matching Jordans was never a good thing. It was never a good look. I mean, like, you know, if you're dealing with like a real hot one, man, if they all got matching Jordans and they take that picture together, man. Oh God, man. Yep. Hey, man, but at the end of the day, like my aunt owns a daycare center, and most of the black parents don't even pay half the time. They come there, they go around the city. It's kind of like we're getting their nails done and everything else. They mess up their credit amongst the black people so bad that they can only take their kids to white people to get them seen because they gonna pay them, and they don't pay black people, man. It's the same stuff.
Yeah, like I said before, I mean, when you hear those silly ass arguments about diluting the black population, man, look, if you ask me, I think there's a lot of damn inbreeding going on. I mean, there's some. I personally think there's quite a bit of inbreeding going on. We've
Well,
had
look,
it's been the case. Give me a second time. It's been the case for so long that you've had a small number of black men who have slept with and procreated with the majority of black women. It is practically impossible that these kids did not eventually procreate with each other at some point and didn't know it. I mean, we got stories out of Tennessee: 3 black men fathering over 80 damn children.
hey, now that's what
I
I'm
Hey,
talking about.
mean, this is absolute insanity. But we're talking about saving the vestiges of a dying society.
But you know what, Dr. Phoenix, in my family line, you know what I'm saying? We have dark skinned people, we have light skinned people from people meddling with the females. You know what I'm saying? And you you would have to see pictures of these relatives to even know that they existed because like it's black now.
Well, I can tell you my own personal journey where my grandmother, great grandmother were super high yellow, so light skinned they can totally pass for white. Red hair and everything. Even I have to a degree somewhat slightly reddish hair. But this is the this. I mean, we've long known this for a number of years. Certainly, the Human Genome Project answered a number of these questions. That black people in America, African Americans, ADOS, are an admixture. On average, 10 to 20% of the DNA of ADOS is non-black, most likely European. Non-African, excuse me, most likely European. And in fact, where you have the purest, almost non-diluted DNA are actually black folks that are in the South.
yep.
They actually have the genotype that is closest to African, as opposed to those of us like myself that live in northern states. So I mean, this is insanity. This idea that we're diluting the line been diluted for forever. It started that way. It began that way. But
Yeah,
if we just factor in just the low levels of academic achievement, I mean the high levels of certainly black male stagnation, I mean the
Excuse
question's
me.
already been answered.
Excuse
I
me.
mean, Dr. Phoenix. No, go ahead.
Excuse me, Dr. Phoenix. Do you mean when you say the low levels of achievement, are you referring to like a IQ, genetic IQ?
I'm not referring to IQ. I'm not even referring to IQ. I'm just referring to basic stuff like reading. I mean, it's been very well documented that black children do not read at grade level. Most black children do not read at grade level. Take any grade level from first through 12th. Most black students do not read at grade level.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm aware. But I mean, from time to time, um, I hear a lot of kind of like, okay, so full disclosure, I'm a little bit of a MGTOW. But the black version, so Ibmore or whatever. Um, I came to this channel from BGS. But anyway, yeah, something that the white kids always talking about is this idea of genetically inherited IQ. So I was just trying to see if that's what you were.
No, I'm not. Look, I think here's the thing. Academic achievement is a function of two things: one, environment, and two, discipline. If we know that the average Asian student spends at least 2 hours every night studying, but the average black student only spends 45 minutes. Where do you think the achievement? What do you think the achievement gap is going to happen?
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember when
I
I was
mean,
in
I mean, two. If we know that at a community, at a societal level, academic excellence is not enforced and certainly not encouraged, what do we think? What do we expect to happen? That's what I'm getting at. You know, this I can care. Truth be told, I can really care less about IQ. Even for someone like me that's in medical school, I understand for me to get there, it took a lot of damn study, discipline. I
yeah,
mean, literally having to give up nights, days, going out, hanging out, birthdays, whatever. I gave it all up. I mean, I've certainly not been the only brother on this panel that talked about these things. Mike has talked about it from his experience. You know, you had Super Chris talk about his experience. I'm a black man that was a McNair scholar, and I can tell you when I was a McNair scholar, brother, I took up my entire summer. On top of me doing that, I was an intern, and I took two courses, and I was taking 2 summer courses at that. So this is a function of discipline. Now, granted, I had to do this a little later because I was in the military, but for those that go straight from high school to college, this is why you have so many black children. This is why you have the vast majority of black folks graduating with such college debt, because they don't tell you that they jumped around from one degree, from one major to the next. Oh, because well, I thought I was gonna be a biochemistry major. But yeah, I couldn't memorize the Krebs cycle because I refused to sit down all night and memorize. I couldn't tell you what gluconeogenesis was because I couldn't sit my ass down and memorize. But because you know what, I'd rather go kick it with my friends.
yeah,
So,
right.
so
I remember when I was in.
now I'm failing biochem or I'm failing physiology. So now I gotta go. Now I gotta go change my major. Maybe go change it to psychology or something. You know, one of the party majors. But no one never talks about that because again, if you enforce and encourage academic excellence, you don't see this. And this is one place I do give the brothers and sisters from the diaspora all the props because they deserve it. They come from environments where that is enforced. But in the average ADOS family, hell no. If you ain't chasing women, if you ain't that dude, or in the case, if you ain't that nigga, it is what it is. You go be like the folks that what you heard in that comment that Mike was reading. You go be one of these brothers. You go do well, and eventually you go step out because those kinds of men aren't appreciated.
On
Well
that
said.
note, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I just said well said.
Um, on the, excuse me, I'm first time caller. On the note of being appreciated and coming up with ideas, Mike, is this the correct time to? I would like some feedback on entrepreneur venture that I'm starting. Is this the correct topic and or forum to do this, in your opinion?
Wait, is this RBR?
This is Barrowborn. My name
Oh,
is, yeah, I'm
Brother, you kind of
new.
changing the topic, brother.
Okay, just
yeah.
checking. Okay,
We have a tech talk tomorrow night if you want to bring it up then.
will that be open? Will I be able to?
Yeah, right at the beginning. Right at the beginning, you'll be able to do that.
Okay, thanks for the information. I'll see you guys. I'll still be listening, but I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, have a good one.
What did you ask if you was RBR?
I thought that was I wasn't paying attention. I had my tablet was in front of me and I was like, wait, who's that?
Hey, Mike, are you familiar with this documentary? It came out. I think in the mid to late '80s. I think it was a PBS special where they gave these two little boys in Chicago. They gave them recording equipment, for them to go into their environments and like see how they was living.
Mhm. Yeah,
And I forgot the name of it, man.
they think it's called
I'm familiar with it.
yeah, I think it's called Frontline or something like that.
Yo, man, I just found it, and it man, come on, man. That's all I got to say, bro. You wouldn't know that was 30 years ago, 35 years ago.
PPS has a whole catalog of these sort of documentaries, and
It was
unfortunately,
brilliant. It
yeah,
was brilliant.
yeah, it's not the only one. There's dozens of them out there. I think the best one they've done is the Two Black Americas. You know, the Ray Ray
Yeah,
and
that one
Pookie
was a really good one. That one was a really good one.
yeah, the
I
Ray
haven't
Ray
checked
and
that one out yet.
Pookie. Yeah, the Ray Ray and Pookie versus the Educated Brother. So that was done in Boston. So it's right in my neighborhood. So I take a great deal of watching that multiple times to see the difference of opinions in it.
Well, this is that, to reference what you were just saying and what Ty City was saying. This is the reason why when you hear these arguments that, oh, it is the school fault, it's the school system's fault that my child doesn't know how to read, or my child didn't report, or my child didn't do well academically. No, it's not. All the research points to the fact that most of what influences what happens to a child academically happens outside of school. It happens in the environment that they're in. It happens in their home environment, in their social environment, not the school environment. This is why arguments about, oh, it's the school system fault, my 17-year-old child doesn't know how to read. No, it is your fault.
Mhm.
But again, because for those black men that manage to escape that, you're told that, you're not good enough, you're corny, you're lame, all these other things. And so you're not deserving of the best of black society. So if you're able to go get the best of some other society, well, you take your resources with you. And so, what about the rest of us? Well,
Yo, Dr. Phoenix, this dude literally sat here and talked about everything he's done, all the people that he's helped, and all types of community, all types of black communities. It's like, no, his wealth is going to the man. It's like, what?
Yeah,
What?
but it's gender specific because when Serena Williams takes her 200 times more wealth with old boy over there, there's no concern about that.
and that's a great point, Mike, because it is very gender specific. Because nobody doesn't talk about Serena Williams. Was it Serena? It's
Yes,
her, right?
yeah, Serena.
Yeah, yeah. She's worth like $200 million, but she married a man that was worth about $5 million.
Less than that. I think at the
Yeah,
time when they married, or just before they were married, he was worth like 1.5 million. Reddit is not some flamboyant platform. It's a very niche platform that's not really as widespread as Facebook. But it was worth his net worth in reference to that was only like $1.5 million.
yeah, but to MOT's point earlier, they want to they want to see you at the finish line when everything is you don't put in the sweat, the tears, the blood, and everything else. Now they want to meet you at the finish line, but you ain't got
There,
no problem. You ain't got no problem have this double standard and allowing yourself to get wiped up by a man that has far less than you do.
well, and there is no finish line to be quite honest. BWs don't. There is no hard finish line for them. Once you reach all of those goals, you reach those milestones, there's a new agenda that's coming. So you have to go out there and like we heard the other night on that other channel that said why didn't black men open up their own nail salons? But we know in Chicago there's over 100 black nail salons that they could have went to.
It's funny because I personally know of and have known black women who've complained about not being able to find black women who can do nails, because typically what happens is that many black women who do it kind of does do it as a side gig, as a hobby. It's not a real business.
Bro, I'm
So,
telling you right now, I ain't letting no Chinese dude come out here, bro.
hey, you know what? I was in New Orleans over the summer,
Oh,
and
don't tell me you did it, fam.
no, it wasn't Asians, but it certainly was black folks. It was some man. You had some folks out. You had some Latinos and some other folks out there.
Oh, yeah. I'm just,
They was they, they was fading brothers up better than a lot of these black barbers out there. I'll say that. You know, I don't know what the hell's going on with
Come
that.
on, Ty City. Come on, Ty City. You walked out on the El Camino, bro. Come on, man.
I told you I went. I walked. I turned around and got the hell up out of there. I seen an El Camino. They gave an El Camino a chair in the damn barbershop.
El Camino with N keys.
Yeah, I had to get the hell up out of there, man. Yo,
I have an
you know
AW
what?
that does.
You know what? We talk about education, man. I remember, I was taking my son to a daycare, and I walked in there, and I seen the El Camino, and I took my son out that school.
Really?
Yeah, and I explained to the people why, and they wrote me a letter asking me to bring my son back.
That's interesting. Well,
Yo,
did you tell them why?
no, it weirded me out because it had facial hair, bro, like like a little beard, and I'm like, what? That has got to be confusing to it fucked me up, bro.
No, that's not real, man. It's kind of like a chia pet, man. You put a little water on it and it starts growing. But
Bro, I'm sitting there like, hell no. I'll never forget. I told my boss, I said, man, look, bro, I gotta take the day off. I gotta go look for somewhere for my son to go to school, man. I gotta switch it up.
well, to the point about Serena, man. The point, I bring up Serena, and there's quite a few of them. You have Halle Berry and quite a few of them that go out there and they make these sort of connections with these sort of other guys. But when it comes to BMs, man, eh, there is a staunch down perspective that says no. There is a script for you to follow, and you will recite these lines. You will pledge allegiance. You will put your hand over your heart, and you will say Heil Gynarchy.
I mean, they do operate like the SS. I mean, that's essentially what happens here. Like I said, I don't, I pretty much stay in my lane and stay over here. But I wouldn't, you wouldn't catch me dead last in any of those circles. But
Hey, Mike, we look at somebody like Byron Allen, right? But on the cool, he's a billionaire or whatnot. He way up there, but let's keep it real, bro. He was cut off way before he reached billionaire status. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these brothers is. If you go to some of these affluent neighborhoods, them brothers not, you know what I'm saying, wasn't making the cut either. The cutoff was way before he became a billionaire, bro.
Yeah,
But
if you listen to his recent interview on the Breakfast Club, man, it's phenomenal.
yeah,
The
I heard it.
trajectory, yeah, it's phenomenal, man. I don't understand how anybody can knock him for what he did, where he's at
No,
right now.
no, I actually I listened to it the other day, and no, it was a very good interview they did with him. And the
Yeah.
sad part about it, yeah, he already got jettisoned, if you will, from the community long before he ever hit billionaire status. But he's one of the few out here going the hardest in the paint for black folks.
Dr. Phoenix, you think these women out here dealing with a man who on the payphone trying to sell his show to somebody? You know what I'm saying?
I think MOT had the best response to that and the best approach to that. Look, if they not messing with you before you get on, the hell with them when you do get on. It's just that simple. You don't get to come and claim something you didn't put in no work for. You just don't. But of course, in black society, that's what we want. We want to be
You
able to
think they
claim
dealing with a
other
man
people's
who
work
caught
as
a
our own.
bus to a function party?
And you know what? And this is what's killing a lot of so-called black females when it comes to uh being, married one day. They don't realize that being someone's wife is earned. It's not given.
Yeah.
It's earned. You have to put in the work in order for that man to look at you and say, I want to spend the rest of my life with this person.
Mhm.
I want my seed line and my legacy to come out the womb of this person. There's certain things that you have to go through, that you have to work on to earn that, for a man to look at you that way. But to them, they don't realize that. They think it's the other way around only, that a man has to earn their heart. But for some reason, I guess, when it comes to them and what work they have to put in, it's little to none. And it's not like that.
Because
No,
because the perspective on marriage is all synthetic. It's, realistically, marriage is the merging of two economies, two families that come together in order to build that legacy. There is no legacy building in the Black community. If having Black children is about building the legacy, then we have failed legacies all over the place. No one seems to question that. No one seems to question it.
Yo,
You
you
see,
put it that way, that's funny, man. Because, man, some of these women having children, and it's like, if you try to put a rational reason behind it, like, what's the point? Why'd you have that kid?
I mean, you see in the manosphere, you see a lot of dudes who are just failed, man. A lot of women who are just failed. A lot of BWs failed, a lot of BMs that have failed. But if they're saying if their whole purpose is to have more of them, more failed legacies, how is that working out for you?
But what's so damn pathetic is that as failed as many of those women are, they do not have a shortage of men, of black males, who will sit there at their feet and listen. I mean, they will listen. They will fist fight. They will argue with you. They will do everything. But yet, if we're talking about building legacies here, legacies begin with family planning. And family planning begins with a man and a woman. Not El Camino,
Hey,
but a
Phoenix,
man and a woman. And
this whole legacy business is funny because, like, you only concerned about somebody's legacy when they get to the billionaire status. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to talk about legacy, like, what's your legacy? Let's talk about legacy. I just go and click the profile picture. Whenever I see one of these bros talking shit, I click the profile picture and then I decide whether I should respond or not.
and that's interesting you say that, because I see it. I look at them. I see the weaves, the lace fronts, the multicolored hair, and and just was it yesterday? I was listening to a stream. There was a female. I mean, just as nasty, potty mouth as any military person I've ever met in my life. I mean, just nasty and potty mouth. Like, dudes actually get attracted to that when they hear her talk.
Yeah, it's really strange. I mean, you have to have a dom and sub role in that sort of situation, because there's nothing feminine about that, right? It's really a guy in drag.
It totally is.
It's really a guy. It's a lot of cosplay going on in the manosphere. A lot of dashikis getting thrown around. A lot of a lot of El Caminos dropping their tops, man. Tano covers everywhere.
Yo, I came up with this whole other thing with the El Camino theory, bro. And I just think about it. I'm like, you just think of the El Camino, right? It's the worst of a truck and the worst of a car, right? And as a truck, you never came with 4-wheel drive. As a car, you don't have any passenger like space. It's like
Well, now you know why they keep talking about legacy. They were really talking about a Subaru.
How does the Subaru brat?
I mean,
Y'all chill out, man.
to respond to what Dr. Sphinx was saying, as far as a lot of these potty mouth females, it's 10 times worse here in New York City. I mean, a lot of these BWs here in New York City, they will literally use the term "suck my dick," and they'll say it with like the same level of aggression like a man would say it, and think that it's cool to say that. It's like, and then a lot of these males are attracted to this. And I'm looking at it. I said, listen, I must not be from this planet in order to find this disgusting.
Well, that's your legacy.
Yo, let me tell you something. Hey, I heard a young cat talking to his girlfriend. He straight up called her bro.
Yeah.
No bullshit. And that my head almost popped off of my neck.
Yeah, there's situational.
Yeah, that's what I call them, dude. That situational lesbians. It's ironic because I know, and this is especially true when you talk to younger BWs. They use this very colloquial type of language. I wouldn't even call it a hood vernacular. It was just a very, something very colloquial, and they're using stuff like bro, like bruh, like what the hell is that?
Dog.
It's just like, do brothers really get attracted to that? I've been fortunate enough in my life where I've traveled and seen a number of things and been in a number of different cultures and been around a bunch of different kinds of women. And I've never, ever in my life, ever had any of those women ever introduce themselves to me like that. Never.
You never heard any of those other groups address their women as a man or a male.
That's a man, baby.
It's a man.
See, this is the thing about the black right now. Mediocrity is the new standard.
Oh yeah.
That's below average. That's it. Hey. It's a matter. It's like guys on a job. You got somebody who comes in who's doing above and beyond. They get mad at this person. Oh, you working too hard. You making the rest of us look bad. It's that mentality.
Yo.
I mean, it's even to a point where simple communication amongst our people is so messed up to the point that you can't even have a civil debate with them. Just a civil disagreement. Just to say, hey, listen, I disagree with that statement without a full-blown argument with so much disrespect. It's like, damn, really? I can't just say, listen, I disagree with the statement, and this is my reasons why. I can't get that. I can't say that without receiving hostility. It's like, so, and then these are the same people who want this so-called black utopia, for this whole communal utopia. How could we have this utopia? How can we ever elevate collectively if we can't even communicate? Just do something as simple communication, a simple dialogue, or just simple disagreement without anybody disrespecting each other. How could we move up further as a collective if we can't even accomplish doing something as simple as properly communicating with each other?
Because we have two different societies. These are two different black societies in places like YouTube and other places like Facebook and whatnot that are being smashed together, as an experiment to see what would happen if I put this Pookie on the panel with this educated brother. Like, whoa, wait a second, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? This is like a little silent. People see this as a cultural experiment. What would happen if you put these people in the same room and nothing good ever comes from it? Nothing good comes from it.
I mean, you get a segment of the society that's strict, that's main component is chaos, and you try to put them in a place where you're supposed to have critical thinking.
Mhm.
Of course, like
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, Johnny Blaze is correct. I mean, mediocrity is the standard in Black society. That's been the standard for so damn long. For decades. You know, it's not. It is not that we. There used to be a time in Black society where we valued academic excellence, family planning, academic achievement, but that doesn't happen.
it's happening, but it's being labeled as white, and it's being labeled as coon. It's being labeled as all kind. They just make up stuff to just tear it down. Like, you got to be with this kind of person if you're gonna achieve excellence. You didn't really do it because you didn't do it this way. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. It's weird, and it's normalized.
They normalize not trying, dude. That's what they normalize. They're already a completed product. That's the problem. You have to work to be a completed product. They already are a completed product.
So, like I
You know,
said,
I
I
find
listened to that Byron Allen interview, and he was talking about how his mom got made them start an internship program, and he didn't say anything negative about his father. And when he said he said something like, the community succeeds when the other children succeed, when the mother succeeds. And I don't think he knows how far off like his experience was from everybody else's.
Well,
No, and it's like other people don't talk about it, so that way, it like you
It's almost
can't
like he
say
knew
anything bad
he
about
knew
you.
not to, and that's scary. That like even when you reach that level, you're not allowed to say something like that. I think uh, even Jay-Z said something at a conference about children raised by single parents. They don't know how to deal with, you know what I'm saying, in situations where they get with law enforcement,
Mhm.
and people almost tore him out the frame for that.
Mhm. Well, MOT hit the nail on the head, man. They're unfinished product, man. Usually in the software tech world, man, a unfinished product that's in dev is called a beta.
Yeah, yeah,
There's
like
a lot of
Streamlabs.
yeah. So, yeah, a lot of betas use those. So
They get on these panels and start borging.
yeah, a lot of betas, man. But that we have to keep challenging this stuff, man, as we go forward. We can't just allow these people to keep saying these type of things, man. I didn't want to put the brother out there by name, but I had to show the comments so that people really understood. This is what goes on. No experience with WWs, but this is what goes on from what he's heard. Well, where did you
Fully
hear that
formed
from?
opinions. Fully
Right.
formed opinions
Hmm.
assigned to him by his handler.
Hmm. Well, I'm not knocking brothers. I'm not banging on brothers. Well, of course you're
No,
not,
no, no,
right? Yeah, you say so.
no. Like, like we said, we're challenging the idea because it's so normalized amongst black men.
But
I mean,
that's
this
what I'm
stuff is
saying. Somebody
normal.
like Byron Allen, you was cut off a long time ago. Probably in high school when you was doing the right thing.
Oh
Probably,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Way before you got to where you are now, you was cut off,
Hmm. Hmm.
Now you look good to everybody once you make it. Like, what kind of
man.
dumb ass shit is that, man?
Now you have some wealth that we that's not coming to us.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And as soon as you die, that's when we want to be concerned about what your future is after you're dead. What kind of shit is that, man?
Yo, yeah. But that's
Fuck,
the
man.
argument. Yo, when he died,
Yeah,
as
I
soon as
know.
he dies, guess where his money's going? It's like, what? What about the great works that
Man,
he had?
back to a
What about
community that don't even affect us. That's the shit, man.
And I don't
Contest the
get that.
will.
I don't get that. That doesn't make sense. Like MOT said earlier, they act as if there's no such thing as a will or life insurance or what have you. They think what? As soon as, let's say, hypothetically speaking, if Byron Allen were to die right now, you're saying all of his money is going to go to an entire another race of people? It's not going to go
but
to
see,
Boom,
yo, but
straight to
look,
the community top, baby.
back to the
Yep.
yeah, but
community.
look, this goes back. This goes back to this goes back to the whole wedlock thing. You know what I'm saying? It's after you're gone. Like, well, at least you could have robbed him for something if y'all was married. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least you could have got something. If you're gonna be a mom or a single parent, you could have at least married him instead of had him out of wedlock and have. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that's what it's about.
Wow. Wow.
And the thing is that for the ones who talk all this stuff about resources, I've yet to see them build anything with any resources that they do have.
Oh, come on, Mike.
Don't worry.
Mike, we talking about these things shouldn't even come out of their mouth. Resources, legacy, preparedness. A lot of this stuff shouldn't even be coming out of some of these people's mouth, Mike. Come on, dog.
Well, when I was around in the 90s during the major dope boy wave, man, and a lot of those women who were lamped up with these dudes, when they got knocked, where did all that money go? They didn't take all that cash and then say, well, I'm going to take this cash and I'm going to start a pediatric center. I'm gonna start, I'm gonna start, a Head Start, for a nonprofit organization. They didn't do any of that, man. They went and bought red bottoms and all that other stuff and apple bottom jeans back then. So
shit, we talking Maseratis and shit, man.
And when the money ran out, a homeboy went to jail and they have to survive on their own. All of a sudden, they have a change of heart and they're somehow a good woman. They somehow a good woman looking for a good man. Oh no!
Yo, I mean, that's pretty much the story between my mom and my dad. When he got locked up on a conspiracy charge, and all my mom ever talked about was if he would have gave me the money, he would have been straight. I'm like, no, if he would have gave you the money, he wouldn't have been able to pay all them lawyers to get his goddamn sentence reduced.
Right.
He would be still in that motherfucker if he would have gave you the money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're looking at two different black societies, man, and people are trying to merge in between the two, and it's not working. It's not working.
It's kind of like this, man. It's kind of like selling a free rattlesnake with the purchase of every bunny rabbit, but you gonna package them both together and put them in the same bag and expect shit not to happen.
We got Joseph on the panel. Joseph, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, man. Sorry, guys. What's going on? What's going on?
What's going on, Joseph?
All right, long time listener. Listen, you know what? I started listening to that interview, and then I had to cut it off, man, because this is a black man, a strong black man, a powerful black man, giving so much homage for a woman that he didn't even turn around and marry when he got older. You know what I mean? So he's over here telling them, "Oh, the black woman can't do that. I mean, without the black woman, the black community is gonna die and everything." And then he comes and he becomes a man. He grows into himself. What does he do? He goes out and he does not marry someone like his mother because he can't deal with the black woman who talks too much or thinks too much of herself, right? So like all these other black women is like, man, I want to be with that guy. What do I gotta be? What do I gotta be? They have no clue, and he didn't even give them an idea of like, yo, you gotta humble yourself because if you're gonna be with a great man, you gotta step back and let him do that, But they can't wrap their head around that. And when a great man appears and he gets and takes what he wants, he's not taking you because you can't. You're just too much to work with,
Culturally incompatible.
Yeah. That's
Well, that's what I was saying. Whenever you reach that level, you that's the scary thing. You can't say the truth. You can't. You cannot, especially on a black platform. You definitely not finna get out there and start holding people accountable.
I mean,
Yeah.
man, because it's a Jenga puzzle, man. You take one piece out of that shit, and they have to self-reflect for like years, and they can't handle that shit, man.
Yeah. You know, I mean, but at the same time, he's like, he's not even talking himself up. He's not even talking about manhood. He's not even talking about what he had to endure as a strong black man. He basically gave all the credit to, yeah, it was my mom, my mom, my mom. What about your dad, bro? You said
Well,
your
I mean,
dad,
because
you were by yourself, but then his dad was in the picture, but then his dad was not in the picture. He's like,
At
yo,
least,
your dad was in the picture, man. Stop trying to like belittle what he did. Whatever he did something because you talked about him,
Yeah, but you
right?
can't
So,
sell that story. You can't sell
no,
that
I
story
mean,
to the black
no,
community. Yeah, you can't
not at
sell it.
all.
yeah.
No, man, you can't sell male achievement. Nobody really culturally cares about that.
You know who gets hurt the worst though? Black women, because they can't get an achieved male, right? They can't acquire an achieved male, which is what they want.
well,
At the end
they
of
That
the
is
actually
not
day,
what
could.
they want.
They
No, no,
actually,
no, no, no. They don't want that. They
they
want
could.
them
That's
once
what I'm
he's
saying.
fully formed.
They actually
you know,
could. That's the trick part about this whole thing. A lot of black women probably could have been with him, probably.
oh, come on now. What black women wouldn't want to be with a billionaire? Period. Black or white. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
What?
but
You
you
know,
have to
right?
see him as a billionaire first before he becomes a billionaire.
And that's what
No,
I'm
I mean
saying. They don't know
because as soon as they
what.
hit that rough patch, they would have been out of there. Ain't hearing that shit.
Hey, as soon as you picked up that payphone to try to sell these people your TV advertising, it's like, man, girl, I'm tired of this nigga. He over here trying to sell this. got all these papers all over my goddamn kitchen. You know, you know what I'm saying? He always on the phone with these people and shit. Like, come on, man.
Baby,
But
can
you
I have
know,
some change? I call long distance. Can I get some change?
I mean,
but
Nigga,
we,
get a job. Why you trying to call and sell shit? Get a job, steal something. What are you
I mean,
doing?
we talk. I mean, we talk about him buying the Weather Channel for 300 mil, but YouTube only sold for 500 mil back in 2005.
I know,
So
amazing, isn't it?
And
you know,
then it sold
he
it sold
wasn't that.
again for didn't it sell again for like 3 or 4 billion or something like that?
No, evaluated at 3 or 4 billion, but Alphabet bought it for $500 million.
Damn.
And the creators of YouTube were actually married to the executives at Google.
well, same way like Facebook
That's
sold Instagram for $3 billion.
yeah.
What's Instagram street value now? You know,
Well, that's
is
that
$3
that that.
billion
Well,
easy?
Instagram is overvalued. It was overvalued for what it was relative to what it was to YouTube. It was
What it
overvalued,
was
but
purchased for. That's correct, but still,
yeah.
look at these other companies coming out with half of what Instagram has. But that's either here or there, though, right?
No,
We're
no,
just
no. The
talking
point,
about.
the point, the point that I'm making is that now you have um a digital monarchy, for lack of a better description, because with that money stayed within that group. It didn't just dissipate. It stayed within that group. So now what you have is 10 people out of Silicon Valley who control 90% of the users on the internet. This is serious business. But if you let these momos tell you, these suckerlays tell you, they'll tell you that you're when you die, your resource is going to go, to some magic place. It's not going to go to the black community, as if the black community is doing anything with the resources that they do have outside of, taking out 7-year car loans on fucking infinities and fucking Mercedes. It's
That was my
unbelievable,
best
man.
friend. That was my best friend.
They're putting
But
$9,000 worth of stereo equipment in that car and like $40,000 worth of rims on it.
No, they're
Hey,
too busy hiding it.
Kind
They're
of
too
funny.
busy
chill out,
hiding their
MOT.
cars.
Hey, chill out, MOT.
No,
Nah, baby. We can't start letting them get away with these goofy ass narratives, man. You know what I'm saying? Because El Camino's, there's no legacy there. and they running things.
And nobody has a problem with young MA, you know, groping BWs at concerts and stuff like that. It's unbelievable how it's unbelievable how they created this sort of narrative, man, and people believe it. They believe it. But Jenks
Yeah, man,
Morton
because
has
Mac
done.
10 can do that though, man.
What
I
happened?
mean, Mac 10 can do that though.
Mac 10?
I said Mac 10 can do that though.
Mac 10. Going young MA Mac 10.
Oh, who banging, man? Yeah, who banging over there?
You know, it's outrageous, man. And like I said, you are cut off if you're doing the right thing way before you get to the millions of dollars, way before you get to whatever else they feel they're entitled to. You've been cut. You was cut off a long time ago.
No. Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I mean, I think this is a great platform. Black Brain Trust is a great, space for men to say, hey, listen, I'm a plain old looking Joe, but I'm worth a lot of money. And we just need to keep on saying it and pushing it out there. We're like, hey, the brother with the suit is the one with the real money, not the one with the jeans hanging off his ass driving an Infinity. The dude with a Toyota Corolla is the one that's like, yo, a computer engineer making 200 plus. The dude with just a blazer on and some sex is the one that owns all his real estate on the low. We really need to let them know, like, yo, what you see is not what really is going on, because it ain't from us, right? It's from the small hats. It ain't from us.
Amen.
You know?
But
Hey Joseph. Hey man.
Yeah. What's up, Emil?
Hey man, them girls gonna come out the huddle and they're gonna be forgot about the whole fucking play, man. Hey man, they're not running by that shit, man. They're not trying to hear that, man. I mean, dude, this is like culturally.
They don't need to hear it. They need to see
wow,
it.
Dude.
It has, right? But we're talking about it, and everybody's listening. Guys who are really successful, they don't brag, right? We don't talk about it. We don't talk about what we're doing. We don't talk about what we don't brag. We're just quiet, slide in, slide out. We're out. We're done. But they need to know little by little, and they'll wake up eventually.
No.
They won't?
You turn the back signal.
MOT up there in the mouse.
Not go around and you don't say it to a decent human being with a lot of money. Not a bunch of money. Those are words that better not come out your mouth, and really not in their succession either. They're gonna think you're a clown or a sucker, and they're gonna come for you, man. You gotta be able to mess with people who mess with you. Like I said, my standard, I'm gonna do a whole podcast on it about how to take these women seriously. You have to break the system to where the completed product. What the hell is this, like Duncan Hines or some shit? Like, nah, man, you don't get the cake once it's baked, bro. You gotta be here. You're like the mixing of the eggs and all that shit. The fuck you get the piece of this. But at the end of the day, they go out, do whatever they want to, wait for you to become a successful dude, and then like once you don't put them on, they call you a traitor. But all the time that happened between what you became and how you started out, that don't matter. The whole fact that you didn't put them on, that shit is the only thing that matters. And we gotta stop that shit from happening. We have to.
Terrence Forrest said, "I'm late to the party, but what do you mean by El Camino?"
Well,
El Camino is somebody that wants to be a truck and a car at the same time, and fails at both.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. MOT. I'm not even saying that we're trying to get those women, because men equality don't deal with trash, right? We don't. But at the same time, they could understand, like, listen, I won't ever mess with you. I won't even waste my time on you, but I will let you know how men like me move. We're not dealing with you. I'll just let you know that
more than likely you're not even in the same spaces.
You know
Yeah,
what
man. But
happens,
here's the
right?
thing.
We all black. Every now and then, one of them pop up, and we're like, "Oh shit, what the hell is this?"
Hey,
All right, let me
hey,
let me
Joseph.
let me take it easy.
Joseph.
What's up?
Joseph.
Yeah.
You know that most motherfuckers in this circle, especially in this circle, got their shit together. How many of you people you see flooding this chat room? The ones who so-called want a good man. Like, what the hell they at, though?
Well, you know, it's 1:30 on a Friday in
No.
New York.
No,
You know.
no. But when it's Maggle time, they all up in the comment section, man, and all day before the show even starts. They there. I'm just saying, man, they are diametrically opposed. I mean, successful black men on their actual, I don't want to say purpose, but the mission is it's truly like smallpox to these goddamn women, man. Man, they avoid the hell out of these dudes, man. Until
And that's
they
good,
earn something.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
and that's good though, because you don't want no damn, you don't want no, I don't even know what you want to call them, right? But you don't want that around you anyway. You know, that's like
No, of
poison,
course.
man.
See,
That's
No, of
poison.
course. I mean, it's gonna be like the self-destructing, like Inspector Gadget mentioned, man. You can't bring them around while you're trying to get your stuff together, man. No, you can't do that.
and one thing, Joseph, a lot of
Yeah.
these females know where the good men at. They know what the good men are really doing. But another reason why, one out of many reasons why they're not interested in being with that good man is because that good man know how to put his foot down. That man of quality know what he'll tolerate and what he won't tolerate, and he will not allow her to do whatever the hell she wants. She knows this, so she purposely avoids that type of man. So it's not like they don't know what the good man at. No. Okay, they're not blind, all right? They may be blind in the brain, but they're not blind in the eye. All right. They're blind in the brain, but not blind in the eye. So they know where the good men at. But for that and many other reasons, for the reason I stated and many other reasons, they purposely avoid the quality men. And you know what? That's a good thing.
That's cool, man. It's just that, dude. They know they wouldn't make it past the water and the cheddar biscuits if you took them to Red Lobster, man. They know that. They know that.
That's the word for them I was thinking about. A succubus, right? The succubus. You don't want no succubus around you, right? 2 seconds into a conversation, what do you do? What do you mean? Well, I mean, what the hell do you do? That's what I mean, right? And that's it.
No,
Conversation's
no,
done.
I mean, but she stays in environments where there's tons of her class of dudes, man. I mean, so she stays with her people until she looks at something that she could have got, but she don't have respect for because she can't have it. Like a dude with a lot of money, because they only respect the completed product. They don't care about the up and coming.
Keep
It
the
get
succubus.
weird,
Let them
man.
all die off, right? Just let them die off eventually. Just stay away from it. That's it. That's what we all do, right? Far away from it as possible.
Whoa. You make it sound like that's a bad idea.
No, it's not a bad idea. It's a great idea. That's what I did.
Oh, okay.
As soon as I could. We scrapped my pennies together and I was gone.
Nah,
I'm just making sure that you wasn't about to go into like RBR spoken word on me, man, about how much.
Oh, hell no.
I am.
Hell no.
Okay, all right.
Hell no. Don't need that. I got the hell out.
That's just what they dealing with, man. Is men who pop up out of nowhere with some success. A lot of these people probably didn't even know who Byron Allen was until, you know what I'm saying, he started making these rounds and stuff with his legal issues and whatnot, and now it's a whole different thing. It's like if you can't get behind him and support him, and he basically saying there's a monopoly going on that shut Black people out of the communications industry, and now we need to get this done. And it's like, I'm not doing that because he married to a white woman. is crazy.
And yet they complain about how the media is
Controlling
putting
the image of the black
is controlling the
female.
image of the black man, and there's not enough black media out there, but yet they're not supporting this black man, so-called black man, who is trying to get us more with to have more control over our images or over our image. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but they don't want their image being boosted up, man. Dude, they're not in that. They're not at all interested in that.
And, so exactly, men of tomorrow. So that whole, oh, well, he's in an interracial marriage. That's just an excuse to justify. That's just an excuse for these Negroes to justify their laziness. The sad thing is we're just too lazy to get behind a brother like that that's trying to help us. We're too lazy, and we're not only are we too lazy, but we're disinterested. Okay, we're more interested in going to the club, getting drunk, getting high. We're more interested in how promiscuous we could be. We're more interested in that.
It's like that saying when it's like that person will cut off his nose to spite his face, right? And that's what that is. Cut off your nose to spite your face.
Nah, man, it's worse than that, man. They will cut off the top half of their body to spite the lower half of their body, man. That's what we get.
Okay, let me answer this question to someone in the chat board, because this is like the second or third time he asked me what do I mean by so-called when I say so-called black people, so-called black male, or so-called black female. So I say that because that's what we're called. We're called black, but that's not who we really are. Black is an adjective, and we're not really black. I mean, an ethnicity or a nationality has to be a noun, not an adjective. But that's what we're called. So that's why I say so-called. We're labeled something that we're not really are. But that's
but a mago is an adjective, and we are describing niggas.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's funny. My son at 5 years old was able to understand that very simply. That black is a color and it's not a thing, right? It's describing something. But hey, who goes to school nowadays, right?
Not these people, man. I just want to thank everybody for joining us, man. If you have not already hit the like button, please hit the like button, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust. We will be back tomorrow for Black Tech Talk, and then we'll have another open chat on prison politics in the manosphere.
All right, bro.
Prison politics.
Prison politics, yeah. Oh my God.
All right, shalom, everybody. Shalom.